Mathin Va, a hula dunya, agus fáilte. My name is Claire Cullen, is Misha Claire Cullen. And I'm going to be speaking to you today about the Scottish Government consultation into Gaelic and Scots commitments. So the first slide you'll see there is just a reminder of the rules that everyone will be aware of signing up for SLF. Agus into Gaelic, could you? Also to bring everyone's attention to the other events across SLF in relation to Gaelic. There's two more sessions this afternoon, which you might be interested in joining. So, as I said, I am in the Gaelic and Scots division in Scottish Government, and the purpose of today is to speak to you about the consultation and to give an overview of the process and the context leading to the Scottish Languages Bill, which the government has promised to take forward within this Parliament. And then to invite some discussion focusing around the commitment to establish a new strategic approach to Gaelic medium education. So my presentation will be recorded this morning, and everyone who is on should be aware that my presentation will be recorded. But what I've asked them to do is to turn off the recording when we get to the discussion point, so that those on the call who want to kind of give reflections and to kind of ask and raise points, that they don't feel that their contributions are being recorded. And obviously, as part of the consultation, what we will evaluate and what we are really looking for is written responses back through the consultation platform that is available, because that's the best evidence that we'll get for taking policies through Parliament when it comes to that stage. So the consultation has been published in English and in Gaelic and in Scots, and it's available through each of those mediums. We're welcoming responses in any of those languages, and it's open until the 17th of November. It's good to see some friendly faces coming in and into the room. So the journey so far, just I guess to explain what has happened between the manifesto commitments of 2021, which the SNP would have put forward. So very ambitious manifesto commitments put forward at that stage. Those commitments then come to Scottish Government civil servants to try to develop some policy around that, and the consultation really is us going out to the sector to get clear indications from across the sector about what they want to see, what the issues are that they identify, and really looking for people to identify any solutions that they think, things that they can see from working in the system of how things could be improved, so that we know that the effort then that we're putting forward and the policy that we take forward to Parliament it is as strong as it can be. So we had a lot of informal discussions and pre-consultation work with different stakeholders. I know some of the people on the call today have been involved in those. The consultation paper that we've prepared tries to gather together some of the indications and ideas that we've got through that, so that that sort of stimulates ideas and a conversation around this issue. But it's very important to be aware that there is no fixed plan at this point. So Scottish ministers really want to hear from the community about how the community wants these taken forward. And because of that, the consultation paper asks very wide questions. So it's a real opportunity to influence the direction that the policy will take. And it's a good opportunity also to be telling us what's working well, as well as what is not working quite so well for Gaelic medium education. So I'm going to give a brief overview of the 4 key commitments, and I'll deal with the 3 numbers 2 to 4 first, and then we'll go back to GME at the end, just so that you get a full overview of the whole consultation. So the first commitment is to establish a new strategic approach to Gaelic medium education. Second is exploring the creation of a Gaeltacht. The third is the review of the structure and functions of Bord na Gaelic, and the fourth is to take action on the Scots language. Other statements that are relevant about the Scottish Languages Bill that have been made is that ministers want to make provision for Scots, they want to enhance the recognition for Gaelic, and they want to recognise Scotland as a multilingual country. So in relation to Scots, those in the call may be aware that Scots doesn't actually have any formal legislative support or recognition at this point in time. We are hearing from stakeholders that they would be quite keen for more support and authorisation in relation to bringing Scots into the classroom, more resources, support for publishing, but there's also a question for the Scots community as to whether they would like a more formal structure or a body to promote its cause. So the section on Scots paper gives a bit of information about the bodies that Scottish Government currently fund and asks for ideas about how to develop those further. In relation to the question of a Gaeltacht, the commitment is to explore the creation of a Gaeltacht, so it's not a definite we are going to do this. It is a question of whether the community thinks that this would be a positive direction to take in policy terms. What we have found easier or kind of more fruitful in terms of discussions around this is actually asking communities what measures they feel would be helpful in their particular community. We have found that the mention of a Gaeltacht seems to be quite divisive, but again, we're really looking forward to hearing from a wide range of people about what their views are and what they wish to see in relation to that. So if we were to go about creating a Gaeltacht, really interested in views about how that area should be defined, what areas should be included, and also how that sits with the policy of having Gaelic as a national language. The question of creation of a Gaeltacht also touches on the structure of the Gaelic language plans, which are in the 2005 Act, and the extent to which they are working or could be strengthened or replaced with a different system, potentially, to ensure the best protection for Gaelic. In relation to the commitment around Bord na Gaelic, the focus is on the functions of Bord na Gaelic and therefore thereafter its structure. So Bord na Gaelic was set up under the Gaelic Languages Scotland Act 2005. It's been in place for 15 years. And the fundamental question is, what is the best structure to support Gaelic in the kind of public body framework? So are there functions that we could add to Bord na Gaelic's suite of functions in the legislation to give it more teeth or to reposition it, to refocus its activity? So very interested to hear views on where what areas of activity people feel are most impactful from the point of view of Bord na Gaelic. So it is quite a complicated system, I guess, because what we're asking for is views on what Bord na Gaelic's role should be when the new strategic approach to education is set up, and also potentially changes around a Gaeltacht. So, focusing on the new strategic approach to Gaelic medium education, which I know colleagues on the call will be most interested, given the context of the Scottish Learning Festival. So this commitment is quite a wide commitment in itself. When we talk about education, we're looking at and asking for views around education across all the age groups, so 0 to 3, nursery, all stages of school, secondary and primary, but then also what happens to the school leavers, what support should be in place for school leavers, and what are the areas of support that people identify work well or could be strengthened in relation to that age category as well. It is education in the widest sense, so also including adult learning, initial teacher education, support for teachers in terms of CPD, and delivery of Gaelic and courses through the medium of Gaelic in further and higher education establishments. We're also talking about education in the widest sense in terms of the school day, so in and out of the school day, in and out of the classroom, opportunities to use Gaelic in the community and beyond, and in a widest range of situations. So again, views on where that happens, where that works well, and areas that the community would be looking for that to be developed and supported. the Minister has indicated that she's really interested to hear about the balance of roles between parents and the local authority in establishing and growing Gaelic medium education provision. So that's an area that we are looking forward to hearing further about. So in terms of what a Scottish Languages Bill could do, I thought it'd be useful to give a bit of framing of, what parts of the legislation currently touch on Gaelic medium education, and therefore what might be able to be changed. So essentially anything which is in the legislative competence of the Parliament, that includes education, is completely devolved. So, for example, the Education Scotland Act 1980 has a mention of Gaelic in it. That is the main act which provides powers and duties of education authorities in relation to education across the board. So, it is possible if we have enough consensus around it, and and ministers can be persuaded to take forward some changes to make Gaelic more visible within that act. The Education Scotland Act 2016 is the current piece of legislation which provides the process for requesting Gaelic medium primary education. So some of you may be in establishments which are have come about as a result of that process being used, or be aware of that process. So again, is that process hitting the right balance? Is it achieving the right aims? Can it be simplified? Those sort of views around that would be really welcome. The Scottish Languages Bill could also go into the 2005 Act and make changes to provisions that are there. So the 2005 Act sets up Bord na Gaelic. It gives Bord na Gaelic its functions as a legal person, and it sets up the structures around Gaelic language plans. So we could definitely go into that and make changes to that text to either strengthen or change the approach that was set out in 2005. So again, looking for feedback on how the community feel that is working. And whatever happens as a result of the consultation, we are likely to see updated statutory guidance, both in relation to Gaelic medium education and also in relation to Gaelic language plans. So I'm just putting up here some discussion prompts, I guess, partly pulled from the consultation paper and partly pulled from discussions that we've had, post since the consultation has opened, to try to sort of give some ideas. If I'm sure people in the call will have lots of ideas of their own, but in terms of what we've been hearing, that people are looking for a real truly immersive Gaelic medium education experience, and for that to be as wide as possible across as wide a range of subjects. That they would like to see new schools being encouraged, an increase in the number of Gaelic teachers, continued support for eSchool, Storlin, and other Gaelic education and arts bodies such as FAISH and Common Apparent, Common Gaelic. There's also been very interesting, a lot of interest around Sabal Marostig and the role of Sabal Marostig, both in delivering learner and learner education, teacher education, and support. So the consultation questions in relation to Gaelic are there. We're asking people to think of the barriers and obstacles and potentially solutions that they have around key aspects of what should be included in a new strategic approach to Gaelic medium education. We're asking what steps you think should be taken to support and promote Gaelic education and to ensure that any new strategic approach to Gaelic medium education is fully implemented, and any other points. So really very wide, very, very wide. So thank you very much. I'm just going to put up that slide again to remind people of the other discussions that are happening later on today. I'm going to ask Nia, our colleague in Speakeasy, to stop the recording now so that then we can move on to discussion points. So I think what I'll do is put that